Welcome back. We're still working on the Small But Mighty Dragon, and this is the final video in the series. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the fire. These shorter, fluffier fires work really well in a dragon's mouth, but you can also make longer ones. These ones require a wire to help them stand up, and I'm using a very thin gauged wire. I got this at the dollar store. It's a florist wire, I believe. Very thin, very easy to bend, and it will hold up a little bit of weight when you bend it over. It doesn't matter exactly what gauge that you use, as long as it's, thin enough that you can work with, and it will be out of sight once it's in the dragon's mouth. So what you're going to need to make your fire is acrylic yarn. This is the kind of yarn that you can brush out. You can also use a pure wool yarn. Anything that you can brush out. Cotton will not work. You can use any color you want for your fire. I'm using 3 different colors: red, yellow, and orange. And you also need a steel pet brush. This is a slicker brush, I guess it's called. You'll be using this to brush out your fire. So all we need to do is take a strand of each color, and I'm using orange, red, and yellow, and I'm going to loosely wrap it around my hand 2 or 3 times. 1, 2, I think that's enough actually. And then if I want more yellow in the fire, then I'll just take the yellow strand and wrap that around 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. It all depends on how much of which color that you want in there. Then you'd wrap that color 3 more times, 3 or 4 more times. Again, you can play around with it. So I've cut free there, and I'm going to cut right through the middle of the strands. Okay, now I'm going to take a strand of yarn and I'm going to tie off the middle. So I'll just lay that down, lay that right over top, and tie off the middle. I'm going to pull tight. I'll double knot it. Like I said, you can have any length you want. I'm going to do a shorter one just because it's going to be quicker for me to do that on film. And when I cut these strands, when I trim them up, I'm going to trim them up in kind of like a V. So there's 2 ways that we can do this. We can split every strand before we brush it, which will make it a lot quicker for brushing, or you can just leave them as they are and brush it. This one here I just did before I started filming, and I didn't split the strands first. So the yarn is wrapped in a particular direction. Unravel it in the opposite direction, and just run your fingernail down through it to open up those strands, or use a needle, whatever. And just go ahead and do every strand. Unravel it and split it. All the strands have been split. And now what I'm going to do is brush them out. So I want to do this over a book or something, so I don't have to get my hands in the way. I'm going to hang on to those 2 strings that I used to tie off, and I'll start brushing. And you go from one side to the other, of course, and you go quickly. Don't just stay on one spot. So that was just about 1.5 minutes of brushing, and you can see you lose a lot, and some little strands will want to pull off, and that's totally fine. I think it just adds to the overall look. So just brush it out. These little things here, just pull them off. And there we go. There's our fire. So pretty easy. And don't be alarmed if a whole bunch pulls out. That's totally normal. So if you wanted to do a long one like I've done here, because I didn't split the strands first, I lost a lot of the pieces as I was brushing it out because it took longer. So I put 2 of them together and I just tied them together. So you can do that as well. So if one thins out too much, you can always make another one and just tie them together. Okay, in the end of the fire, you just want to trim it up. Don't trim it too close to the knot, otherwise it will come free. If you're worried about it coming free, just put a little bit of glue there, a little bit of tacky glue, and that will hold it in place. Now these shorter, fluffier ones, they go right into the dragon's mouth. They don't need any help at all. They just sit in there like that. These longer ones will need a little bit of help, because when you stick it in the mouth, you'll see that it'll just fall down. Doesn't make a very cool photo. So what I did was take a very thin gauged wire, and I bent it over, and I trimmed it up to the length that I wanted. And these ends here, I'm just going to bend over, one this way, one this way, and I'm just going to twist the ends around the wire itself just to hold them in place. So I just have a big loop there. Now I'm just going to stick that part that I bent over underneath the fire. And you can make the wire longer as well, but you can't see it there. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed your Small But Mighty Dragon crochet series. If you made some fire for your dragon, I'd sure love to see it. Post pictures on my Facebook page, Amigurumi Freely. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you super soon.